Welcome to another episode of Ask the Zamboni Experts podcast. Today, Kelly McMillen and Julian Gardner are, along with myself, Doug Peters, hosting guests from the ice ends in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Chandler, Arizona. Matt Mendelsohn, Alex Warzynski, and Ben Fulkerson. Gentlemen, thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Today we're going to ask a few questions about Zamboni Connect, and before we get started, I'd like to jump in and just ask a few fluffy questions. Matt, if you could tell us, along with Alex and Ben, how you ended up at the location you're at, and a little bit of history about the facility.
So I actually came to the ice den back in 2007, and I worked my way up from just being a part-time Zam driver throughout the years to now being a senior director of operations for both locations and a few other of our affiliates. So that's where my kind of quick history on where my role falls in. For the Coyotes, we are the official practice facility of the Arizona Coyotes, where they will practice a few of their practices in our building if they don't have ice at the main arena, or if they might have any injured players skate at our rink if the guys might be out of town.
And Alex, how about you? How did you end up at the facility?
Yeah, I was born in Arizona. I started playing hockey when I was about 3 at a different rink here. And then just while I was going to school, I got a job part-time driving the Zam here. I kind of fell in love with it and worked my way up to being the manager here in operations.
Awesome. And Ben, what's your story?
My story is a little bit similar. I don't have any hockey background, but I started here in about 2017 as a part-time Zam driver, and then I made Matt now and our other manager Johnny fall in love with me, and they brought me full-time just last year as the operations of or manager of operations or facility operations.
Awesome. Matt, I've visited your facility a few times and talked with you about what it looked like when it was going up. We originally sold some electric machines out there to the ice den in Scottsdale when it opened up. And maybe you can elaborate a little bit about the facility and its construction. When I first visited there, and I used to go to Arizona to play golf with some friends, and it was out in the absolute middle of nowhere. And one of the more recent trips there to take a look, it was like, how did all of this happen? Because it's not out in the middle of nowhere anymore.
No, it's definitely not out in the middle of nowhere anymore. When we first came in line, we were just a 2-sheet facility with seating, bleachers on one side of each rink, locker rooms in the middle underneath the bleachers. We did have 2 electric machines. When I first started here, we still had those electrics. I remember when I first became full-time is when I sold the first electric machine that we bought, which we ended up calling Altel. That was its name. And we ended up having to switch to propane because we got so busy that our older electrics just couldn't keep up. We were only closed about 4 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it was 20-hour-a-day operation, 7 days a week, nonstop. We were only closed. We are only ever closed on Christmas and occasionally one other holiday, but that's it.
Yeah, it was a pretty aggressive schedule out there, and it's at the time that technology with the lead acid battery probably wasn't suited, but maybe down the road now with the lithium ion that we have to offer, that might work for you. we can imagine that you guys, based on being in the desert and having visited there in July when it's 120, that the heat out there and low humidity are challenging when it comes to maintaining your ice surface. Can you guys maybe elaborate a little bit on what kind of things you might run into that a location north of the Mason-Dixon or maybe on the East Coast might not face?
Right. So the main issues we will run into is obviously our heat load. Each building, including in Chandler, will have HVAC units along with dehumidification, both. When it might be middle of summer, not during the monsoon season, and it might be 110 out with very low humidity, those conditions actually become very difficult to manage with our ice because our ice starts to dry out, starts to get kind of brittle. And it is really hard to try and rehydrate our ice because we are always so busy. So there are some times, we might have the guys do a few just floods at the end of the night to try and warm that ice up, try and hydrate it, try and warm up the ice slab a little bit, try and rehydrate it. But then on the flip side of that, when monsoon season hits, it's a storm here is completely different than a storm in the Midwest. When we get a storm, it's a monsoon. It is a torrential downpour of rain, and with it, huge humidity that sometimes takes days to leave the rink. So the massive amounts of dehumidification that we have come into play. Also, since we don't ever really get that much rain, when we do get rain, that's when you get to find your leaks. Fortunately, we haven't really had too many over the actual rink surface itself. But our roofing company is great about getting out here right away to handle any of those. But the weather definitely plays a pretty big role. I feel like compared to a lot of other rinks, we have a great control system that can alert us right off the bat on a number of different levels when things might seem off. So it's taken us a while to get there, but I feel like we're there to where we finally have about as best control over some of the external situations with regarding the weather that we could.
Well, that's kind of like a softball pitch to me to when you talk about control systems. To my next questions, what factors drove your decision? It's okay to say that the sales guy from Zamboni that sold you the machines did such a wonderful job on selling you on the Connect system that was the primary reason. But what was a driving force for your interest in that product?
So, I mean, truthfully, as soon as you told me a little bit about the product, I right off the bat said that's something I'm going to want to have in our buildings. I'm big into technology that can help, one, educate my guys and me, and two, give us more data to kind of see where we can drive costs down. Because as everyone knows, the ice rink industry is a big cost. It's a lot of money to run these things. It's a lot of money to maintain them. Anywhere you can try and save some money helps you out in the long run. So if you can try and save some money in one area to then maybe help other areas out, it's a good balance. So seeing this, it to me made sense to, one, for when I was trying to do budgets, or just when my guys we're trying to train somebody on how to drive a Zam. It's good. A lot of people especially ice guys, they're all visual learners. So it's good to show them, on their cut, where they did, like what it looks like, how much water, what their RPMs were, what their speed was. So it's to me been a great tool that we have used, especially I feel like we are such a cloud-based rink. We're trying to at least go that route.
That's awesome. Now that I've had the easy questions to ask, I'm going to turn it over to the smart guys, and Julian's going to jump in and ask some technical questions to help us understand it a little bit better, as well as our listeners out there. Julian?
Thanks, Doug. So had you previously been using CAN bus diagnostics from your machines or some of the onboard diagnostic systems?
Not too much before Zamboni Connect, no. Only whenever we had an issue.
Okay, got it. All right, fair enough. Could you speak to some of the other IoT systems you have in your building? You said you're getting to be much more of a cloud-based type operation.
Yeah, so we have both building has a Distech control boards in every single one of our HVAC, dehumidifiers, our ice plant, everything is all on one platform, where it essentially just shows us a map of the building where every HVAC unit is, where dehumidifiers are. Then when you go to the ice plant screen itself, there's a graphic view, and we, working with our control system group at Cool Systems, they've been great about helping us kind of hone this system in, and we've made everything kind of color coordinated to help the guys out. So if something is a good temperature or level, it's green. If it kind of needs some attention or looked at, it's yellow. If it's bad, it's red, and then actually sends us alarms. That's one thing that we have. Another one is we have Schlag and Allegiant badge control locks that are all on Wi-Fi. And we've started the process of turning over a lot of our locks in both buildings to that system, try and limit control, because to switch over a key in this building when you have hundreds upon hundreds, sometimes maybe even 1,000 locks, it can get very expensive pretty quick. So we want to try to go to a badge system, make it a little bit easier. And then we obviously, of course, have the Zamboni Connect. And we are also starting to, which my Ben has been really like pivotal on this, is we've actually started using Power Apps from Microsoft Office 365. And each building for Ice Techs have a tablet, and all of our compressor logs, ZAM logs, building checklists, every log that we pretty much had that was on a piece of paper is now all an app, all through Power Apps. And we can pull, it all records in real time. We can pull all the reports from that, which makes it very useful. It gives us a lot more info, especially when it comes to the ZAM log, because if for some reason something might happen and someone gets hurt on the ice, Zamboni, like ZAM logs, and any information that the Zamboni Connect pulls could all become a legal document. So the more information we have to show, improve our case, the better.
Sure. This is Kelly. Let me jump in here for just a sec. I came and visited your facility in January of this year. You guys, Matt, now to help me set up some testing that I wanted to do for some background on our machines. And I was extremely impressed with like kind of the mission control feel to the resurfacing room. Just an amazing amount of data available to the operators on both our systems and machines, and obviously the other systems you have there at the facility. So really impressive to see for myself what a customer like yourself is kind of setting up in that way. Really impressive to see.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're leading the way in a lot of use case for how we can kind of incorporate both information from Zamboni Connect and all these other systems that you've got to running a rink like yourself, and just very, very cool to see you guys embrace the technology and all aspects of that. Just wanted to interject. Julian, I'll pass it back to you.
It's an excellent point. You guys have probably one of the more advanced operations I've certainly ever seen any kind of documentation of. So I was very impressed by the pictures I brought back.
Thanks. We have a great ownership group that he completely understands and appreciates everything that the operations team does, and wants to make sure that we all have the tools to do our job to the best that we can. So it's been great.
Fantastic. Yeah. So I mean, in terms of the modules, you guys think you get the most benefit or utility from? Maybe you could speak to those a bit.
Yeah. So I can tell you that from my side. I know Al and Ben would probably touch in a couple different spots, but from my side, I use the fuel consumption a fair amount, especially during budget time. Fuel consumption, water usage, things that I can look at to really try and figure out exactly how much money does an ice cut cost? How much money do I have to spend to make the ice? Because then I'll use the information I get in the Zamboni Connect to try and figure out, in conjunction with our building control system, because that then tells me how much power the ice plant was using during that same time frame. So I use it a lot more for budgeting side. I will occasionally, if I hear of anything, look at it and see maybe what an ice tech did. Or if I walk out in the rink and I see something I see the ice might not look right, I might pull up something then. But I think Al and Ben probably touch a little bit more on what their thoughts for it are.
Sure.
Yeah, for more on my use of the modules, I mean, I trust all of our drivers to drive the Zam in the first place, so I don't feel like we need to constantly babysit or monitor them. But it's always nice to pull up just a week of like water usage, speed, fuel consumption, RPMs, and just kind of see if they are treating the Zams the way they should be. And all of that information is awesome because it just gives you a nice little database to pull from to show people like, hey, maybe you are kind of pulling the RPMs too much on this cut, pull it back a little bit, or maybe we can be laying a little bit more water during this cut. It just kind of holds people more accountable.
Yeah, certainly. One of the things we wanted to build into that system was the ability for remote monitoring, so you could quite literally pull the information from wherever you were at the time. So I'm happy to hear it's bringing you guys so much benefit.
Yeah, that's been great.
It's also really great for training. With the real-time aspects of it, you can actually show your trainee exactly how they're driving the Zam. You can show them the RPM peaks, the valleys, the speed, just to kind of build that confidence of how they drive the Zam and make sure that they're comfortable whenever you finally sign them off to let them do it by themselves, so they know exactly how to treat the machines and how it handles and just all those aspects of the machine itself.
So then on the note of multiple users, do you guys have secondary users? And if you do, could you speak to maybe their use of things like maintenance logs?
We also use the maintenance log section to record anything that gets done to the Zam, whether it's, anything from a blade change, a grease, to impeller, or even anything to do with the engine that our mechanic DJ with gearhead equipment might do. So anything that gets done also be done, recorded in that maintenance log, which has been great. All that before was all on paper. And the machines that we still have one machine in each building that is not on Zamboni Connect. So those still have paper, but we still tell the guys, if it says on Zamboni Connect that it needs to be, whatever maintenance is that needs to be done, you have to do it to the other machine as well. And then you still have to just log that it was done to that machine.
Okay, yeah, fantastic. Yeah, we appreciate the feedback. That's good to know. It's bringing you guys that kind of utility. Doug, do you want to pick it up from here?
I appreciate the questions, Julian and Matt. Your guys' input is greatly appreciated. This is exactly what we're looking for, to try to improve the product and make sure that what we're doing with it is what the customers are wanting to have. I'm going to toss this over to Kelly. He's got a few additional questions to try to get from you guys, and appreciate what information you provided so far. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah. I guess the next step is when it comes to reporting from the system. I know you can go and check, obviously actively go check, but are you using the report system at all for any of that data collection, or using that to supplement any additional files, or that kind of thing that you would typically have done out of the system, and now with some ability to do it inside the system?
You're referring to where you can pull a report and it shows you in Excel?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. I especially use those when it comes to budgeting. That's been huge.
Sure. Yeah, I could see the value in kind of taking that and kind of trying to figure out future costs based on previous, especially when there's some maybe cyclical nature to seasonality, that kind of thing for a facility like yours.
Yeah.
Has there been any decision making you've been able to drive off of some of the data you've been able to find in that regard outside of budgeting, with regards to like how the machines are being used? I know Alex talked a little bit about maybe some course correction from how machines are being used by different operators, but there's some aspect of the maintenance on the machines, or any sort of kind of operational adjustments that you guys have been able to make because of this information?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, in the field or game time decisions, we have made a few of those based on that information. But it also goes to help training the drivers. There's been a couple times we've, gone and pulled something and we said, wait, why did a machine use that much water? And then we go and we look and see what the ACE plant was doing, and we can tell, okay, well, it looks like we need to work with them on water control. So it's been great for that respect for us.
Sure. Have you noticed any difference between, so you've got machines with Connect at your two facilities. Have you noticed any difference between the two buildings in that regard that are beneficial in any way to understand either how those two facilities need to be run differently or can potentially be run more similarly in the future? Is there any kind of comparison in that regard that you guys have been able to do?
Yeah, I have definitely actually noticed it recently, especially between both buildings, because I've watched in the past, since we reopened, actually I think a few weeks before we reopened, and then the weeks we reopened, I've been watching our ice temps compared to how much water the guys have been laying, and actually been able to adjust our compressors to run just a few, maybe a half a degree warmer to try and get for better ice conditions. And that was just because by pulling those reports and seeing how much water they laid, and then going back and looking to see what the ice plant was doing and giving back to me. So it's been great.
Sure. Yeah, I would imagine kind of trying to make those facilities run as similarly as possible is like kind of cost efficient in that regard. So anything that kind of points you in that direction would probably be good.
They're completely two separate buildings too, in a lot of respects. Chandler is a steel and frame building with drywall, and Scottsdale is a huge concrete box with tilt panel construction. So they are completely different animals. So any little bit of information I can get to try and make adjustments is huge.
Sure. Makes sense. Obviously, you've talked a little bit about how you're trying to use more data in your buildings to drive some of those decisions going forward, both operationally, budgetarily, et cetera. You spoke earlier about how you have some plans to kind of see what additional value you can squeeze out of that, both in Connect and all these other systems that are running at the facility that can help drive some of those decisions. Do you see that? It sounds like you see that growing and increasing value for a business such as yours. Is that a fair way of putting that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the more info we can try and get from Zamboni Connect, and the more integration we can make it to our current systems, the better.
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the things that we're looking at from the build up standpoint, engineering, and how we kind of put the system together, both on the back end and what we do in the design, has really kind of taken some interesting input from people such as yourself, saying this could be of value. And you know, we certainly did our fair amount of brainstorming on where we thought some of that value would be when we were in the initial stages of design, on both kind of how the system would be laid out and what it would do on the back end. But the kind of feedback that you guys have now and going forward is just really valuable to us to understand where you think the future of kind of integrating this information in other systems that exist in your plant, and also kind of in any of the decision making. I think it's really valuable to talk to people such as yourself to get an insight into what you guys see as kind of the future in that regard. And I think what you guys are doing is really going to kind of set the stage for how companies can be as successful as possible running facilities that, like you said, cost a lot of money to run, and have a lot of costs that you're constantly trying to rein in or contain, right? To make sure you have a future.
Right.
What kind of devices do you guys focus with Zamboni Connect specifically? I know there's kind of like a TV and PC setup in the main room. Are there different computers that are on site, or do people use the tablets or PCs or laptops or phones for that kind of thing? Or where's your focus been in using, kind of accessing the data from Zamboni Connect?
It's mainly, for me, it's mainly from my laptop that I take with me everywhere. For our part-time staff and our ZAM drivers, it's from the tablet they have in the ZAM room, or it's from the computer that has the 3 monitors on it, that has all of our control systems and our security cameras on it, that's in the ZAM room on at all times.
Sure.
And then for Ben and Alex, I'm fairly certain they use it from their phones and from their computers. Is that correct, guys?
Yeah, I'm in both buildings a lot, so using it on the phone is a huge help.
That's good to hear.
And for me,
it's certainly kind of what we were hoping to give people the flexibility of doing, especially with multiple facilities like you guys, where you're not always at one, so you can't be kind of tied down to a system that's only connected at one, that kind of thing. Ben, did you have some follow up there too?
It's the same as Alex. Using it for my phone and computer has been amazing. It makes it easy to read. I like the app a lot. Like, I was playing with that just recently, and I like how your app is similar to the way it looks on the PC, and it doesn't really differ like most apps do from a PC version.
Yeah,
that's great feedback. I'm very, very happy to hear that. We'll kind of wrap up with, if you were kind of at that juncture of making the decision on acquiring a machine with this system in the future, what kind of things would you be looking for to really understand where the value is from a system like Zamboni Connect? What kind of things would you focus on making sure are present for a decision that it costs money and has potential value for a customer like yourself?
I'm going to want to know what my ROI is going to be on a system, and
sure,
also, especially with the system then that's coming. That comes with the brand new, or Zamboni comes with a brand new system. So by me getting that system, what's my ROI going to be, so I can try and determine, okay, well, is it really going to be cost effective? Should I go that route? To me, it was a no-brainer pushing this system in with to making sure that it got budgeted and got approved when we purchased the machines. But I also understand there's a lot of rinks that are, just a small individual rink, and they do everything pen, paper, nothing's really techy. But for me, I would think those would be the rinks you would want this information the best. It'd be the most useful, because it can really show you exactly how your one Zam driver is making the ice, and it can really show you how them driving faster to try and make up 30 seconds or a minute on a cut costs you so much more money in fuel consumption. And then also in turn, you're not driving at equal speed, so you're laying uneven ice, which then leads to more cost for your ice plant, more cost to do ice maintenance. It's like it just snowballs from there. So to me, those type of things that I look at on any system I get, first off, what's the ROI going to be on it? But then that all goes into, well, how am I going to be able to save this in the long run? So I saw all those benefits in the system, and they've been great.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies, even Zamboni, are current. You know, we're kind of always looking at that cost benefit analysis of we want to spend some money. Is it gonna make us some money in the long run, right? And kind of figuring out if you can tease out some of that value from that decision, it's a lot easier to understand that it's going to be beneficial. I think that's businesses around the world are trying to get smarter and smarter about those kind of things, and so anything that kind of enables you to take a harder look at some of the data underlying some of that decision making, and then really deciding if you think there's a benefit in going towards a system that helps you make some of those decisions. It seems like you guys are on a great path in all aspects of how you run the business, and we're happy to be a small part of that with Zamboni Connect for sure. Matt and Alex, maybe you guys can give us a little bit of insight how you're using the Zamboni Connect system to inform the training decisions you guys make with new operators.
Yeah, so the way we integrate with Zamboni Connect for training is we do a system where a driver has to do 50 cuts, 50 resurfaces before we send them out on their own. So we started out where we obviously walk them through the whole machine, walk them through Zamboni Connect, show them everything that it does, what they can see, all the benefits that come with it. And then, you know, part of the first few resurfaces are them just sitting on the machine and just doing some resurfaces with one of us. So we do those, go through, we explain everything to them while we're doing everything. And then when we come off the ice, we then go to Zam Connect and show them, hey, so remember when I said I, you know, come out of my turn and I slowly press on the accelerator and you don't hear that machine rev up. And then, you know, I remember when I said that, and usually they'll say, yeah, okay, I remember that part. You show them on the screen what your RPMs looked like, and then vice versa, because I like doing things that are abnormal, that, you know, the machine is doing something, you know, that's usually a first indicator that somebody driving too fast because you hear the machine rev up. So I'll do things like that to show them on the screen how those RPMs skyrocketed right in that one spot. So that's a few of the things. And then also I might do a resurface that's full water or half water, and then go and show them how much water it was using.
Sure. So kind of give them a reference point of what the data looks like once they do the cut. Sure.
Yep. And then Al, you want to jump in and kind of elaborate a little more on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it. It's really just something I use as visual reference for people who need that visual reference, especially since I can't be on the Zam with people for all 50 cuts. It's just it's something that is consistent throughout the time, and I can say, look, these cuts were great. This one you were revved up too much at the beginning, or just little stuff like that can show them instead of just being told to them, because that helps a lot of our drivers.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. I certainly one of the things we would like to kind of build into the system as we look at future development is anything that can happen that can help with that training piece, because obviously it's can be expensive and time intensive to get a new operator up to speed on how to properly operate the machine and do all the other things that are involved in the job. So that kind of information from you guys really kind of points us down a path of looking at that training piece and getting a better sense of what we can give operator feedback on from how the machine is being used and how it's being operated, so that can kind of close that loop of how the machine should be used, and as that training kind of goes forward. That's good insight. Appreciate it. Doug, you wanna take us on out of here?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in and just ask a couple questions. From a sales standpoint, when I'm promoting this product to people, one of the things that I like to tell them is that it gives you the ability to monitor things from outside the building. As a kid growing up in Minnesota, my dad working for the North Stars and spending a lot of time at the building monitoring things. This is something that I use, and just wondering what the number one thing, if Alex, Ben, and then Matt can pipe in as well, if it's not duplicating, what you guys see with Zamboni Connect as being most beneficial to you individually.
So for me, I feel like both Al and Ben would say the same thing with respect to we don't like to, big brother our guys and, watch over them all the time and harp on them for something small that we might see happen right then and there. But it is a great tool for when all of us, like we left and for the day and we get an email from someone that says, hey, your driver was late, or hey, your driver is going too fast, or hey, the ice was wet and it took an hour to set up. It's a great tool to be able to pull up the system on Zamboni Connect and you can see right there right when you click on the machine, if it tells you what the last resurface information was. So it's great to have that, to be able to snapshot and send back to the person and go, well, according to this, coupled with our compressor system, it looks like everything was normal, but we will still talk with the driver and try and figure out exactly what happened. But it's great to try and backtrack if anybody has any issues, to try and address them right off the bat. Al and Ben, did you guys want to jump in?
Yeah, for me, most of it is peace of mind. Like Matt said, I don't really, we have cameras that can monitor people in the building all the time, and we're lucky that we don't have to do that. But I always have just irrational thoughts that something's always wrong. So being able to just check in on something and just clear my mind that that's not a problem is amazing, especially when I can do it from my bed when I wake up.
That's a good thing to have that access outside the building so that you're not married to it all the time. In the rink industry, you guys put a lot of hours in, and we look at this tool as something to try to get you some separation, but still have you tied in technologically to the building.
To have that real-time data, we can pull this up from our home computers or our home phones just to take a look at what the guys are doing. So if there is an issue, we have it right away. We don't have to come in and decipher what they wrote down on their log. It's all right there.
One other question I had for you guys is, I think Alex, you mentioned checking from your bed. You're not the only one that's ever done that. There's probably a few people that have in this call that have done something similar. No names here, but what's kind of a frequency of checking on a typical day for the three of you in that regard? Is this a thing that is kind of a once a day thing, or a multiple times a day, or a couple times a week? How are you guys kind of managing that into your normal workflow of all the other things you have to do at the facility?
I mean, when I'm in the building, I'm not really checking it all that much, but days off, I try checking at least once a day, at least, just to kind of see what's going on. But I'm also panicked that Zambonis are always breaking down, and it just really is a peace of mind thing for me.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, as all you guys know, that Zam guys are not the gentlest of group of people. They're pretty hard on all equipment. So it always
we're aware, yes.
Right? Oh yeah. Yeah. So they're all like 2 or 3 year olds where if they can break something, they will break it. So it gives us a great peace of mind that we can pull it up, see what's going on.
I want to introduce Marty Elliott to the podcast. Marty's got a couple questions for our guys in Arizona. Marty?
Thanks, Doug. You kind of touched base on it, but I'll go back to it with a salesman hat on for Doug and myself and the rest of the sales team. Potential customers out there looking at Connect, what are the top 3 benefits that you would suggest and why a potential purchaser would actually and should purchase Zamboni Connect? What would they be?
I would say number 1 would be information on what your staff just did on the ice to help teach them to be better.
So a training tool?
Yep, a huge training tool.
Right.
Because a lot of guys in our field think they know everything and don't want to learn.
Right.
I mean, it's true. It's how it is. Some of them are stubborn, but at the end of the day, it's not to, it's constructive criticism. It's there to help you.
For sure.
At the end of the day, we have customers that are paying a lot of money for a sheet of ice. You want to make sure you're, giving that customer the best that you can. And, also it's cost saving. It can, if you put the time into it to look at what the information is there, to what information it's giving you, to really determine what your drivers are doing, it can save you money. Because if you can see that every time your driver goes out, he is putting out almost the entire tank of water, no matter what's on the ice, that's costing money. You have to spend money to heat the water. You have to spend money for the water. If you're using RO, you're spending double or triple because every gallon you make, you're dumping a gallon. So, and then you're spending electricity to cool more ice when you don't need to. So, there's cost savings in the long run. But I mean, man, if you have like an hour, I could probably tell you every single thing, but there's a lot. I don't, maybe it's because I'm a different generation than a lot of, building managers and directors. So I welcome cloud-based services. I welcome information, not paper-based. I still like writing some things down, but at the same time, if for some reason the cloud goes down, I think we got a bigger issue than whatever information I lost in the cloud. So,
right.
Well, and that's one thing on kind of that note is people who are hesitant to go to computers is, and Matt and Ben can tell you that I don't like technology very much. It scares me.
But it scares them a lot.
It's simple. It's simple to use and easy, so I don't have any problems or qualms using it. If it's difficult, I'm just gonna not do it, and that's not the case with Zamboni Connect.
Yeah, if you don't see value in the system, why do you buy in, right?
Yep. Exactly, and I don't like computers. I like mechanical stuff. That makes sense to me. But Zamboni Connect it's what you ask for is what you get. It's right there. You don't have to take computer school to figure out what it's doing.
Yep.
That's great. Thanks, guys.
Well, I want to thank you, Matt, Alex, and Ben, for participating in this, and on our end, Kelly, Julian, and the rest of the staff that's behind the scenes making all of this happen, on another episode of Ask the Zamboni Experts. We look forward to bringing you more episodes to all of our listeners. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.